Chapter 6 Mission. Lauscher skillfully navigated his conversations with various sect representatives, ensuring that he maintained favorable relationships with each of them. Watching due as the sun began its descent behind the mountains, he gracefully excused himself, turning his attention to Mu, the Jean family patriarch. "Can we talk somewhere private?" Lauscher inquired, his tone carrying a sense of urgency. "Certainly," Mu replied, his curiosity piqued. "Follow me." Guiding Lauscher, they entered Mu Kyung's office, and he swiftly dismissed everyone else, securing their privacy. "Is this related to our previous discussion?" Mu questioned, his anticipation evident in his expression. "Yes, indeed. Am I correct in assuming that your primary target lies within a certain hub that serves as the core of the Lee family's businesses?" Lauscher's voice remained composed as he poured himself a cup of tea. Mu's face turned slightly grim. "Yes, that's accurate. Unfortunately, we've been struggling to pinpoint the exact location. 2 of our spies sacrificed themselves in vain attempts to uncover it." Lauscher's demeanor remained steady, his gaze unwavering. "I have managed to identify the hub with the assistance of my spirit beast. Would it suffice if I concentrate my efforts on dismantling that specific target?" Mu's face lit up with hope. "Absolutely. If you can focus on neutralizing that hub, it would greatly weaken the Lee family's influence." A sense of determination settled over Lauscher as he took a contemplative sip of his tea. The conversation had set a clear path before him, and he knew that his next steps would play a pivotal role in shaping the intricate web of alliances and rivalries that surrounded him. As the lively celebrations in the tavern concluded, Lang retired for the day. Gio, the loyal blue bird, fluttered over to the boy's pillow, settling close as if standing guard over him. Lauscher set his sights inward and checked on his cultivation. Now, not only did he solidify his new realm, but already leaped one minor level. Still not enough, he thought, and used a power burst formation on himself. "This might hinder my progress in the close future, but now I can triple my power for a few days." He nodded, sitting down to fill the newly formed void with chi. Taking a deep breath of the crisp air, he reveled in the sensation of the power burst technique. Empowered by the surge in his cultivation, Lauscher could feel his strength amplified, the energy coursing through him like a torrent. Yet, he remained mindful of the fine balance between newfound power and prudent caution. He reminded himself that this was reality, not the fantastical world of murim manga. Rash actions could easily lead to dire consequences. His recent elevation in strength would be best complemented by a holistic approach to improvement, physical power intertwined with the refinement of his chi. With this mindfulness guiding him, Lauscher sought an alternative to his usual meditative routine. The garden, a haven of tranquility, provided the backdrop for his chosen exercise technique, the heavenly mantra formation. The very name of the technique hinted at its formidable nature. A challenge that could break bones in those with lesser chi, it demanded the utmost from the practitioner's body. Each move was etched in his mind, yet executing them was far from effortless. Soon, his soft fur clung to him, drenched with sweat, while his body echoed in agony. Undeterred, Lauscher summoned his chi to mitigate the pain, though its efficacy remained limited. His stamina, however, proved unwavering. The strength that had upheld him through countless trials still coursed through his veins, allowing him to persist where others would falter, succumbing to exhaustion. As dawn's early light began to streak the sky with pale hues, he rose from his exertion and headed to the well to cleanse himself. Employing the twisting fiery palm technique, he evaporated the moisture from his form. A fleeting amusement danced in his thoughts as he contemplated the potential spectacle he presented, a high-ranking technique used for the most mundane task. Chuckling softly, he nimbly transitioned to his usual perch on the windowsill. It struck him how much smaller the once familiar space felt, prompting him to opt for a gentler entrance, lest he rouse Lang from slumber. Resting against the wall, Lauscher allowed his thoughts to drift toward the weighty task ahead. As he mulled over the intricacies of his mission, he recognized the need for a meticulous strategy that combined his newfound strength with shrewd tactics. The wheels of his mind turned as he envisioned the steps that lay ahead, each one carrying him closer to his goal. "Master your aura? What happened?" asked Lang, waking up. "I needed to let a bit outside. Now that I have a small matter to attend soon," stated Lauscher. "You like it?" Quick to concur, Lang added, "Absolutely, sir. This remarkable aura is so dense I was able to feel it instantly. A subtle smile played on Lauscher's lips as he absorbed their admiration. I'm grateful for your kind words. Now, Lang, you mentioned that Waya wishes to become my disciple? Yes, master. He was very eager to ask if you would accept him as your student, Lang replied with enthusiasm. Lauscher's gaze turned contemplative as he mused. The Hua family has a history of producing formidable warriors. Taking another disciple would be a suitable decision. However, remember that you alone can be recognized as my direct disciple. Eager to convey the news, Lang asked, May I inform him of your acceptance, master? No need, my dear disciple. I will personally address Waya. Lead the way, Lauscher said, inclining his head toward Lang. He then turned his attention to Jio. And Jio, keep a safe distance and observe. Yes, master. Jio responded before taking flight out of the window. The streets were quieter than in the previous days, allowing for a brisk and undisturbed journey to the other end. Waya was in the midst of his breakfast when he saw Tian Lang entering with his master in tow. His excitement was palpable, and he nearly choked on his rice ball at the realization that Master Lauscher's presence indicated agreement. Rising from his seat, he promptly knelt before them, an air of reverence in his posture. Master Lauscher, what brings you to visit so early today? Waya's voice carried genuine happiness as he remained in his lowered position, displaying respect. Come now, rise, Lauscher gently insisted, a warm smile gracing his rabbit-like features. No need for such formalities, young one. There will be plenty of time for bows in the days to come. The anticipation in Waya's gaze was unmistakable. Are you saying that you accept me as your disciple? The rabbit's response was measured, his tone carrying a sense of evaluation. Whether you become my disciple or not depends on your dedication and resolve. Do you truly believe you possess the qualities required to learn under my guidance? Waya's response was immediate and fervent, his determination unwavering. I am prepared to pour my heart and soul into your teachings, even if it means sweating blood, sir. Accepting his commitment, Lauscher set forth his terms. Very well. As a first step, bow to me 9 times. Without hesitation, Waya executed 9 perfectly synchronized bows, each one a testament to his earnestness. With this symbolic gesture, he was accepted as a disciple under the rabbit's tutelage. His face radiated pure joy, and he produced a small rolled-up paper from within his robes, placing it on the tavern counter along with a few silvers. This message will be sent to the Hua family, he announced, a sense of purpose infusing his words. With this, my allegiance is sealed. I am ready to accompany you wherever your path leads, Master Lauscher. Excellent, Lauscher acknowledged with a nod of approval. Waving his hand, he turned and began to make his way out of the establishment, confident that Waya was prepared to embark on this new journey with him. Master, Waya's curiosity couldn't be suppressed. May I respectfully inquire about the name of your sect? Lauscher's response was tinged with caution, his rabbit-like appearance almost seeming to hold a secret within its form. I regret that I cannot divulge our sect's name in public. Maintaining this guise is essential to keeping my true identity concealed. However, rest assured that you will learn the name in due time. Tian Lang chimed in, emphasizing the point. Even I, as his direct disciple, am unaware of the sect's name. Waya nodded in understanding, acknowledging the constraints. I appreciate your honesty. Their journey led them to the grandeur of the Jin residence. Once the guards permitted their entrance, they were ushered into a lavishly adorned hall. Although Jin Mukyung was absent, the household servants made sure to extend their warmest welcome. Tai Pao, the patriarch's trusted advisor, entered the hall and was visibly taken aback by Lauscher's transformed appearance. Tai Pao, I must entrust my disciples to your care for the day, as I have matters to attend to for the patriarch, Lauscher explained, his tone polite. Of course, Master Lauscher, Tai Pao replied without hesitation, his curiosity evident. He couldn't help but address the rabbit's new aura. By the way, might I inquire about the reason behind your change? That is but a mere leak of my true power in order to deal with the given matter at hand. Though I still remain hidden, I need at least this much to handle Mislef, stated Lauscher. Turning his attention to his disciples, he addressed them sternly. Now, you two stay here and ensure that no problems arise in my absence. I will return within a few days at most. Without lingering for any response, Laosher infused his legs with qi and departed the premises with astonishing speed. His departure was so swift that he left the disciples with little time to react. In no time, he was out of the building and had embarked on his journey. Utilizing thought communication, he reached out to Geo, his bluebird companion. Lead the way, he communicated mentally. Geo, ever loyal and agile, took the lead and matched her master's rapid pace. Hours passed as they covered vast distances in mere moments, arriving at their destination, a hidden location on the outskirts of a small hillside village. The village was ensconced within a dense forest, and the hill itself bore rugged contours, providing only two entrances to the concealed area. The building in question occupied a significant portion of the hilltop, larger than a regular dwelling but smaller than a full-fledged estate. It bore no windows, and its only point of entry was a singular door, flanked by vigilant guards. Master, the martial artist employed a concealed entrance within the hillside. Allow me to guide you, Geo chirped, flitting from tree to tree as she demonstrated her route. The hidden entrance was nestled between two towering cliffs, a narrow passage that only allowed one person to squeeze through at a time. The interior of the cave was dimly lit by softly glowing stones placed along the walls at regular intervals. The storage chamber that lay ahead was expansive, enough to accommodate an entire village house without a problem. It was brimming with crates, boxes, and assorted containers. But what truly captured Laosher's attention were a few stones of diverse origins arranged in a precise pattern. To the untrained eye, they might seem like mere pebbles strewn about, yet to Laosher's practiced gaze, they resembled the intricate components of various techniques and formations. If he were to inadvertently set off any of these traps, it would result in a temporary loss of his cultivation. With caution in mind, Laosher picked up a handful of small stones near the entrance and, with deft precision, flicked them at the vulnerable points of each formation, deactivating them with ease. As he skillfully dispatched the stones, he was startled by a shadowy figure across the chamber, slowly applauding his actions. "Welcome to our storage. I presume you are the owner of that bird. It appears you didn't see fit to send us advance notice of your visit," the figure remarked. "And yet, here you are, making sure I have a memorable experience. I hope you've also arranged for warm tea and biscuits," replied the rabbit with a touch of playful sarcasm. While he maintained a light-hearted demeanor outwardly, inwardly, he was berating himself for walking into what seemed like a trap. "Did you truly believe that your avian spy would go unnoticed by us?" The figure in black mused, a wry smile on his lips. "It crossed my mind, but having a high-level expert personally attending to my arrival? I'm truly honored," Laosher responded, his mind racing with strategies to escape the impending confrontation. However, fleeing was not a viable option, as the man before him was a master of the power-strengthening stage. "I'm afraid the sentiment isn't mutual. You may conceal your strength skillfully, but my presence alone should suffice to hold you in check until the elders arrive," the enigmatic figure declared, a smug grin on his face. "At least grant me the courtesy of knowing the name of the one I'll be dueling," Laosher requested. "I'll indulge you in that regard, so you can meet your fate knowing it was Zhao Fan who dealt the final blow," the man shouted as he lunged forward with his sword, his first strike drawing blood as it grazed Laosher's left arm. Employing his perfected crescent moon strides, Laosher narrowly evaded subsequent attacks, the sharp edge of the blade narrowly missing him each time. "You're as slippery as an eel. Hold still and meet your end with some grace," Zhao Fan yelled in frustration. With time pressing, knowing that the elders of the sect were en route, Laosher saw no choice but to gamble on a technique he had kept in reserve. A technique so potent that it could annihilate almost anything within the earthly realms. However, employing such a skill came with a dire cost. Despite the consequences, Laosher was left with little alternative, death being the less favorable option. "You forced my hand. Curse you," Laosher bellowed, his paw radiating an ominous crimson glow as intricate patterns resembling whip lashes manifested around him. In an instant, these lines extended outward, crisscrossing in all directions before converging into a single, lethal line that slashed through Zhao Fan. The once threatening figure was reduced to naught but tattered ribbons. Yet, this tremendous exertion took its toll, and Laosher was left coughing up blood, weakened but still alive. Although he was battered and reeling from the agony, Lauscher managed to locate Zhao Fan's storage ring amidst the remnants. Without a second glance, he swiftly transferred anything of value he could find into the ring. Then, as he stumbled to his feet, he meticulously repositioned the stones from the deactivated formations into an intricate pattern, setting a timer on them. Bloody hell, this was a foolish move, he muttered, pausing to catch his breath. Master, Ji's panicked voice echoed as the bird arrived. It's all right, I'll pull through, Lauscher reassured, extending his paw for Jiu to perch on. Come closer. As the bird landed on his paw, he activated the talisman that Mu had provided. Activating the talisman, Lauscher and Jiu were transported to the Jin family residence formation. Two guards immediately turned to him. Ah, it's you, Master Lauscher, one stated calmly. Yeah, tell the patriarch to meet me in his room later. I need a short rest, stated Lauscher, while Jiu watched him with concern. Sure, nodded the guard and ran off. Lauscher walked to his room and shut the door, leaving Jiu outside to report to his disciples. When the door finally closed, he fell to his knees. The backlash from the power burst technique and the crimson red whip technique combined sent jolts across his whole body. While he had felt greater pains before, he could barely walk. Lauscher quickly sat down and checked on his meridians. To his surprise, they were not damaged, though a bit strained. His core was also unharmed, so he let out a tired sigh. After collecting a small amount of chi with his god-defying demon breathing technique, he finally addressed the internal damages and sped up his recovery. Chi, however, was much slower than before, as his meridians were quite strained by the overwhelming force he exerted. Delving into the storage ring, he gingerly arranged the accumulated treasures around him. This storage ring was modest in dimensions, offering a single cubic meter of space. Nonetheless, within its confines nestled an array of coveted items. For vials brimming with breath-strengthening pills occupied a spot, while an ornate box harboring an assemblage of verdant pearls lay beside it. The jingling of around 600 gold taels reverberated with a promise of financial abundance. Amid these riches were also concealed 2 ashen jade daggers, and to complete the ensemble, a spare attire of Zhao Fan. Having meticulously accounted for the amassed trove, he meticulously repositioned each piece back into the new ring's interior. All is well, though it's a pity this storage ring is somewhat restrictive. I must endeavor to acquire a superior one in due course, Lauscher muttered introspectively, contemplating his future acquisitions. Disembarking from the bed, he was greeted by the pulsating echoes of pain reverberating through his entire being. Agonizing discomfort radiated from his left arm, a fiery reminder concealed inside. Lauscher clenched his fist, summoning every ounce of his dwindling chi to fortify his resolve. I must expedite my progress in strength, he murmured, his gaze drawn out the window where the sun painted the horizon in a warm embrace. The ensuing days passed by in a hazy blur, their contours blurred by ceaseless meditation. As the week of the tournament culminated, Lauscher knew it was time to transition. After seeking some extra help about a secret matter from Mu, Lauscher happily left the room with a promise. Despite the Jin family's generous hospitality, he was already entwined in his own visions of the days ahead and in it the perfect spot to train his disciples. Chapter 7. The Astral Moon Path Sect. Ensuring that no other sect had staked their claim, he resolved to erect the Astral Moon Path Sect. Nestled within the underdeveloped recesses of the Hunan region, it harbored the grace of its pillar-like mountains, unfrequented by aspiring sections. In such seclusion, the perfect milieu emerged for a shadowy entity like his nascent sect to flourish, evading prying eyes. The patriarch thoughtfully arranged their transit, offering a commodious carriage complete with drivers and guards. Although the journey was undeniably monotonous and protracted, it proved a perfect backdrop for martial artists engrossed in their meditative pursuits. Several days of travel later, after passing Changda, the route grew impassable for their carriage, prompting the withdrawal of the Jin family soldiers. Now left to their own devices, Lauscher, his 2 disciples, and Jiu the blue bird ventured into the mountainside. Equipped with laden backpacks, they commenced their ascent, navigating jagged cliffs and overgrown slopes. Jiu, a vigilant scout, led the expedition, paving the way for smoother climbing. Upon scaling the first peak, Lauscher unfurled a map and scrutinized it with intent. That very mountain, he pointed resolutely, spanning a hand across the abyssal chasms to indicate a solitary, towering pinnacle. That's our destination. Are we really going that far? Yo exclaimed, collapsing to the ground, his hands trembling with exhaustion. Master's orders stand. We won't halt until we reach it, Lang declared resolutely, despite the weariness etched onto his own countenance. No need for concern. You'll have 4 days to complete the journey. Geo, stay close to them and notify me of any issues, Lauscher directed, springing into the air and vanishing in a swirl of smoke. He understood the significance of this challenge for his disciples, recognizing the opportunity for them to forge a deeper bond during their trek. Employing his shadow movement and long jumps, he flitted across the terrain, spanning peak after peak, arriving at their destination in mere minutes. After assessing the mountain's stability, he employed the Earth Dragon Stampede technique to level its peak and employed the Thousand-Wood Spear technique to yield lumber. Over 2 unbroken days, he tirelessly toiled, crafting the inaugural edifice of his sect. Surrounding walls adorned with a proud gate emblazoned with the emblem of the Astral Moon Path sect. Employing various techniques, he imbued the place with vitality and an aged appearance, transforming it into a habitable haven. As Lang and Ye pressed through the dense undergrowth and navigated the treacherous terrain, their sweat mingled with the mountain's fog, trickling down their foreheads. Lang, do you believe this could be a test from Master? Ye panted, his breath ragged. What else could it be? You know, the Mount Hua sect is also situated on a mountain peak. I remember Master Lauscher mentioning it to me, Lang replied, leaning against a tree jutting from a cliff. Yes, I've heard of the renowned Mount Hua sect. They're one of the legendary 10 sects, but my talent isn't nearly enough to join their ranks. As for you, Lang, they'd likely welcome you, you remarked, sighing. Hey, remember, we're part of a sect now. Don't say anything that might discredit us, Lang chided, resuming his ascent. It's not like we even know the name of our sect, Ye grumbled under his breath. Less talking, more climbing, Geo scolded sternly from a nearby branch. Curiosity gnawed at Ye. I wonder what Master is up to? Their question was interrupted by a deafening sound from the mountain. Looking upward, they witnessed colossal boulders, resembling buildings in size, plummeting from above, crashing thunderously into the ravine. Is Master in a fight? Lang shouted. Stay put. I'll go check, Ju volunteered, darting away. She returned in a heartbeat, trembling as she relayed. Master warned me to stay away if I value my life. I believe in Master's strength. Ye tried to reassure himself, though his voice quivered. Throughout the day, the sounds of rock slides and the sight of enormous wooden spears piercing the sky filled the air. Hopeful prayers for their master's safety rose from their hearts. The next day mirrored the previous one, marked by earth-shaking crashes. However, as they ascended on the 3rd day, the tumult seemed to subside. Unable to contain herself, Geo flew to the summit, spying her master seated in a chair, leisurely sipping tea. Her joyous return provided solace to Lang and Ye as they continued their climb. Lauscher gazed over the fruit of his labor, a complete garden, a training area, and the primary edifice. The rugged appearance added a sense of age and authenticity to the newly established sect outpost. Some techniques proved better for construction than combat. Those foolish martial artists never utilized them like I have. Funny enough, the idea originated from a manga as well, Lauscher mused, pouring a little more tea as he observed the gate, awaiting the arrival of his disciples. To be able to construct an entire sect outpost like this within just 3 days. I really outdone myself, nodded approvingly Lauscher. Soon, Lang and Ye appeared at the mountaintop, holding the emblem affixed above the gate's arch. Astral Moon Path Sect. Certainly fitting, Lang mused, flopping onto the ground, weary. Isn't your movement technique called something moon as well? Ye inquired. Yes, it's the crescent moon strides. Give me a hand up, will you? Lang extended his hand, and Ye helped him rise. Let's enter together. As the gates swung open, the sight of an antiquated structure greeted them, set amidst a bamboo garden where their master sat, sipping tea in a chair. Welcome, my disciples, Lauscher greeted, rising from his seat and approaching them. Master, you're safe. What happened earlier? We heard fierce combat, Lang queried, his concern palpable. Some minor demons attempted to claim this place, but I dealt with them firmly. No need to worry. They won't pose any further threat. Lauscher lied seamlessly. I had every confidence that you would triumph, Master. You chimed in, a smile gracing his face. Dropping their belongings to the ground, they resonated with an audible thud, echoing in the air. They perused their surroundings as they entered, greeted by a structure that exuded a new scent despite its aged appearance, leaving their minds perplexed by the contradictory impressions. Lang, drawn by curiosity, even pressed his hand against a surface, grappling with the stark contrast his senses presented. The remarkable state of this place is owed to the deep-seated formation beneath the building, safeguarding it against the elements, their master disclosed. Although this merely serves as an outpost of my sect, it's an ideal ground for intensive training. Wait, you mean this is just an outpost? You interjected, flabbergasted. Indeed, why would we establish ourselves in the lower regions? Lauscher halted himself abruptly, a slip of the tongue swiftly retracted. Though this was nothing more than fine acting on his part. Master hails from the upper realm? Yu's exclamation burst forth, while Lang stood agog, speechless. Well, now that the secret's unveiled, you're correct? My descent to this realm wasn't voluntary, hence the secrecy. Now that you're my disciples, honesty is due, Lauscher affirmed. So that signifies we'll be learning techniques from the immortal realm? Lang inquired, his eyes gleaming with excitement. Exactly, though you'll need to attain a certain level for that. I deliberately refrained from documenting my techniques, ensuring only the deserving gain access. Now, find yourselves quarters to settle in and unpack. Tomorrow, the true torture commences. Did you mean training, Master? Ya asked, his voice quavering. Lauscher responded with an enigmatic smile, implying his acknowledgement. Come, brother Ya, I already anticipate what lies ahead. So let's get ample rest, Lang suggested, hoisting his belongings. Waya acquiesced, trailing in Lang's footsteps, his countenance marked by a sense of defeat. The two boys explored the outpost of the Astral Moon Path sect and were pleased with the setup. It featured two distinct training areas, one outside and a sizable one inside. Although their rooms were quite basic, they found them sufficient. Land and Ya decided to have their rooms next to each other, and they personalized their spaces by placing the mats they had purchased along the way on the wooden beds and hanging some mementos from their families on the walls. With both of them settling into their space, and it being late afternoon, they decided to cook up something filling after 3 days of rations. However, as they left their rooms, an aroma lured them to the front yard. There, Lauscher was grilling an entire boar, seasoning it with honey and ginger, among other spices. Come on, boys. It's all yours, nodded Lauscher gently, inviting the two to help prepare and eat. Even Lu, his blue spirit bird, assisted them while happily chirping. The meal was divine, and both boys and Lu ate until their bellies were satisfied. Lauscher, however, only took small bites, mostly for the taste, as he was now separated from his needs. Eating food, if anything, was a negative since he then had to engage in the other mortal act of disposing such material. On the first night at the outpost, Lang experienced a strange sensation when he tried to sleep, a unique, cold but welcoming energy that softened the pain in his arms and legs. Lauscher hadn't randomly chosen this location. Using an immortal skill that drained his chi in mere milliseconds, he sensed the weave of spiritual energy across this realm. This energy exhibited a pattern, with some places having a surplus and others lacking in it. The best places were where these spiritual energies intersected. If there was a solid material at that crossing, spiritual veins grew. This unique peak was just one such place. When Lauscher cleaved the top off, he was very careful not to cut into this spirit vein to avoid damaging it. Mining it would provide riches or a strong cultivation boosting effect in the short term, but then it would need hundreds, if not thousands, of years to grow back. This, while an amazing thing as it is, the spirit vein touched a massive chunk of jadeite. This was something Lauscher couldn't stop himself from harvesting, as the value of such amount of pure spirit-boosted jadeite was immense. Instead, he constructed a formation with the buildings themselves and protected this vein from leaking outwards, keeping the boosted spiritual energy inside the outpost. Soon, The air would be filled with this overflow of spiritual energy, making cultivation smoother. This approach was optimal for the long run. Lang, who was already a few minor levels into cultivation, felt this energy permeating his body. In the morning, both boys woke with cheerful energy. The exhaustion from the long road and climbing was a mere afterthought. Stretching their bodies, they walked to the outside training ground where Laoshi was already waiting for them. Lang, as I have already given you the second form of the blazing feather dance, go there and practice it. Yeah, come with me inside so I can impart your own techniques, the bunny said assertively. Lang nodded and started practicing, though curiosity tugged at him. Ya's face now glowed with joy, eager to receive knowledge from his master. Sit down here in a lotus position and let your mind wander. I will send some of my spiritual qi inside your body and determine the best technique you need, ordered Laoshi. Yes, master, cheerfully replied Ya, following his instructions. As Laoshi's qi entered the young boy, he sensed it. Ya's situation was not as simple as Lang's. While his first disciple had a pure fire attribute, this boy possessed two, cold water and pulsating lightning, with water being the stronger of the two. Laoshi retracted his qi and shook his body from the experience. I see. You can open your eyes, said the bunny as he sat down in front of Ya. You have two spiritual roots, unlike Lang, who only possesses one. While this might make it a bit harder for you to develop your skills in the end, you will have a much broader range of using your qi. Thank you, master. I will do my best, declared Ya. Now, I will teach you a breathing technique and a basic fighting technique. Do you also prefer swords? Yes, master. That is what I have been training with ever since, nodded his disciple. Good. Then listen well and memorize, ordered Laoshi as he began to explain the glacial dragon breathing technique and then demonstrated the first stage of the mist shatter sword technique. After that, he sent the boy out to Lang and called Lu to himself. Lu, come. I can sense that you were eavesdropping on us. Sorry, master, fluttered into his paw the bird. No problem, as human techniques would not do you any good anyway. As you can tell, this place has an abundance of spiritual energy. I will teach you a breathing technique so that you can use it. Thank you, master, nodded the blue bird. As a spirit beast, later on, you will need to fight a lot to improve yourself. But it's not yet time for such, explained Laoshi. Instead, I will need you to look for medicinal herbs or fruits in the mountain range. Since this is a place where energies combine, I am pretty sure many powerful flora could be found. After this conversation, he taught the god-defying demon breathing to Lu, as it was the best breathing technique for spirit beasts, or anyone for that matter. Giving out his orders, Laoshi also attended to his own room. Taking out all the treasures from his ring, he kept his money and, using his movement ability, made his way down to the city, Changde. There he used a mimicry skill to look like a human. Though this burned away at his qi, he did not want too much attention on himself. He purchased a pill forge and some essentials, all of which landed inside his ring. Then he quickly left. Even though he wanted to stay, his qi was dangerously low, barely enough to reach home with his movement ability. When he built this place, he made sure to leave a few rooms for specific jobs, such as a medicinal room. This place was filled with shelves and had a long table under the windows. He pulled out the pill forge, which took up most of the space inside. Now, all that he needed was materials. With nothing better to do, he too roamed the mountains and valleys till midnight. He came back with a considerable amount of low-tier materials, nothing to brag about, but surely enough to make use of. Lu, on the other hand, returned with a 200-year-old ginseng and a 100-year-old crimson berry. He tried to conceal his astonishment and praised the bird for being such a talented gatherer. With these, he began to forge pills with the skill of a top-tier expert from the heavens. As a result, all his pills were a success, and not just a few, but many. What's more, their clarity and effect surpassed the ones he received from Mu. Over the course of the next 3 months, their lives underwent a drastic transformation under the rigorous tutelage of Laoshi. Their training regimen was relentless, and the days blurred into a symphony of sweat, sore muscles, and unwavering determination. Laoshi's first priority was to teach them the intricacies of their breathing techniques, which were all from the divine realm. With patience and precision, he guided them through the fundamental principles, ensuring they understood the delicate balance between inhaling and exhaling to harmonize their qi circulation. In the meantime, Geo did her best to fly across the entire region, collecting all manner of herbs that were refined by Laoshi and eaten by his disciples. Their days were consumed by relentless training sessions that felt akin to torture, pushing their bodies to the limits and beyond. Laoshi drilled them in various martial arts forms, from basic strikes to advanced defensive maneuvers. He made them spar with each other, instilling a keen sense of combat strategy and reflexes. Their muscles screamed, and exhaustion became their constant companion. As their bodies transformed, so did their minds. Laoshi was relentless not only in their physical training, but also in their mental fortitude. He made them meditate for hours, teaching them to calm their minds, attune themselves to their qi, and unlock hidden reservoirs of power within. The hours seemed to stretch endlessly, but gradually, they began to achieve moments of mental clarity and connection to their qi. The diet during their training was Spartan and tasteless. Meals consisted of simple, rough foods that provided the necessary sustenance without indulgence. The aim was to discipline their bodies and minds, to cultivate resilience and detach from material comforts. Chapter 8: Progress. As the months passed, Lang and Ye found themselves becoming stronger, both physically and mentally. Their bodies grew accustomed to the demands placed upon them, their reflexes sharpened, and their qi reserves expanded. They started to execute techniques with greater precision and tapped into their qi in ways they had never imagined. Summer turned fall, and fall into winter. By the end of the 5 months, their progress was undeniable. They stood on the cusp of a new chapter in their martial journey, armed with knowledge, strength, and an unbreakable resolve. The astral moon path sect had started to mold them into warriors capable of transcending their limitations and unlocking their true potential. During those 3 transformative months, the disciples experienced a profound growth that surpassed the progress of years of ordinary training. Physically, they not only became more powerful but also taller, their bodies reshaped by the intensity of their exercises. Yet amidst the hard work, they discovered the joy of competition, spurring each other on to new heights and forming a camaraderie that strengthened their bond. Lang exhibited a remarkable aptitude for absorbing knowledge, swiftly assimilating techniques and concepts. His dexterity improved, allowing him to replicate complex movements with ease. Ya, on the other hand, excelled in the realm of qi control and ice techniques, displaying an innate affinity for manipulating elemental energies. Geo, their loyal feathered companion, underwent her own metamorphosis, growing in size and harnessing formidable wind qi. They all went from the early stages of breath, gathering to the peak of Dantian formation. Laoshi's unwavering dedication to their progress persisted. In his personal cultivation journey, he advanced from the early Dantian formation through the true essence and into the early second level of body tempering. Simultaneously, his physical form underwent a breathtaking metamorphosis, transforming into a majestic golden-furred bunny with deep purple eyes. His core, now almost the size of a cherry, radiated a beautiful purple hue, and his qi storage expanded exponentially. Maintaining a human disguise became not only effortless, but also imposed negligible strain on his qi, allowing him to use it seamlessly throughout the day. With this newfound ability, he crafted an image, one he had long dreamed of during his time on Earth. The human form he projected was slender yet well-toned, adorned with silky smooth skin and silver, flowing hair neatly tied into a ponytail. In this illusion, he wore the distinguished sect leader attire of his astral moon path sect. With his initial plan executed flawlessly, Laoshi's attention turned to the next phase, recruiting more disciples. The upcoming Roaring Tiger Tournament, a prestigious event far above his own, offered the perfect platform. Mu's insight guided his decision to tap into the abundance of talent that these tournaments attracted. He exchanged multiple letters with the help of Geo. As such, he knew about many events that went down in the world. One day, he summoned Lang and Ya from their competitive play outside. As they stood before him, he posed a rare question, inviting their honest thoughts on the training they had endured. Ya admitted, at first, it felt like each day was an ordeal, but the results are undeniable. I've never felt stronger. Lang followed, saying, I was prepared for the intensity, but these techniques are extraordinary. They empower us beyond belief. It's both exhilarating and unsettling. Is it normal to progress so rapidly? It is but the beginning of your journey. Later on, it will slow down considerably. Lauscher's response was a mixture of encouragement and foresight. He acknowledged their gratitude and concern about his pseudonym and the promise that one day they would know his true name. To underscore his words, he revealed a new visage, a white-haired man of striking beauty, offering a glimpse into the multifaceted nature of his identity. Their journey continued, poised to intersect with the upcoming tournament, where Lauscher's sect would beckon to those with the potential to harness the extraordinary teachings they had absorbed during their rigorous training. The sun painted the mountain peaks with a warm golden hue as Tian Lang, Waya, Jia, and Master Lauscher embarked on their journey from their secluded mountain outpost back to the Central Plains. Before leaving, however, Lauscher found it paramount to add an additional layer over the existing formation. This used a bit from the energy-rich air to generate a constant mist around the mountain, making the outpost hidden from praying eyes. The landscape transitioned from rugged mountains to serene river deltas and eventually opened up into the vast plains, each terrain presenting its own unique challenges and beauty. From the very start, a spirit of competition ignited between Lang and Ya. They surged forward, traversing the mountain trails with agile precision, attempting to outpace each other. Their footfalls resonated with determination, and their forms blurred as they sprinted ahead. Master Lauscher observed their friendly rivalry with amusement, while Ju soared overhead, her blue feathers glinting in the sunlight as she followed the two disciples. "You boys do realize we have a journey ahead of us, right?" Lauscher's voice carried to them with a hint of amusement. "We're just testing our speed, Master," Lang called back, his voice breathless but full of excitement. Waya chimed in, "Yeah, who wouldn't want to be the first to reach the Central Plains?" As the terrain gradually shifted, the mountainous path gave way to a tranquil river delta. Waterways snaked through lush greenery, their gentle currents inviting travelers to take a respite from their journey. Lauscher led them to a small, picturesque inn nestled by the riverbank. After securing their accommodations, they gathered at a wooden table in the inn's courtyard, overlooking the tranquil waters. Lauscher's eyes twinkled as he observed his disciples, one gazing pensively at the river, the other engaged in animated conversation. "Master," Lang asked, his gaze on the horizon, "do you think there's a specific reason we're drawn to certain techniques? Like you excels in ice techniques and I gravitate toward dexterity-based skills?" Lauscher leaned back, considering the question. Each person possesses a unique affinity for certain energies and techniques which are determined mostly by your spiritual roots. It's a combination of your innate talents and experiences. Your growth is not solely determined by what you learn, but how you adapt and merge your skills. With the Central Plains drawing near, the excitement of the upcoming tournament intertwined with the memories they had made during their journey. They continued onward, a quartet of spirits, united by the road and bound by the promise of a future brimming with possibilities. As they crested the hill, the magnificent city walls of Hubei stretched out before them. Lauscher's eyes scanned the horizon, where Geo soared back to him with graceful wings slicing through the air like a living brushstroke. "Yeah, a little competition perhaps? Let's race to the city gates." Lang's excitement was palpable as he issued the challenge, his fiery red hair catching the sunlight and dancing in the breeze. "Agreed," Ye responded, his calm demeanor contrasting with his ebony hair, which flowed elegantly and seemed to mirror his graceful movements. In an instant, the two disciples launched into a sprint, their rapid motions painting arcs of determination and enthusiasm. Their swiftness left Lauscher momentarily behind, and he marveled at their youthful vigor and zest. "Are they underestimating me?" Lauscher's contemplative voice was directed at Geo, who fluttered alongside him. Her response was a solemn shake of her head, her loyalty to her master evident in every beat of her wings. With a surge of energy, Lauscher activated his own technique, propelling himself forward with a sense of fluid grace. He swiftly overtook his disciples, arriving at the city gates ahead of them. "I emerge victorious," Lang declared, playfully tapping the stone wall as if sealing his triumph. "By a mere heartbeat," Ya added, his playful grin showing that the competition was all in good fun. Their camaraderie was short-lived as their master's swift hands delivered affectionate, yet potent, chops to their heads, evoking a surprised yelp from both disciples. Amid this playful scolding, Laosher took the opportunity to impart life lessons to his charges. Amid the discussion, Jin Mu-kyung, the patriarch of the Jin family, arrived with his retinue. Master Laosher, your return is a sight for sore eyes. Jin Mu-kyung's joy was evident, his eyes searching for the now human figure of his friend. I must say, your new appearance suits you well. And are these the legendary Tianlang, and why you wrote me all about? Jin Mu-kyung's gaze shifted to the young men standing beside their master, his surprise palpable as he compared their current states to the memories of their appearance just a few months ago. Now they both looked like young adults, their deep blue sect clothes impeccable. Bowing with respect, the two disciples greeted Jin Mu-kyung, their actions and postures reflecting the maturity that their training had bestowed upon them. With respect, we've come to pay our respects and share news of our journey to the forthcoming Roaring Tiger tournament, Laosher announced, the air tinged with excitement and camaraderie. The tournament is still a fortnight away, is it not? But surely, you must stay a day or two with us. Your mere presence has brought newfound prosperity to my domain, Jin Mu-kyung urged, ushering them toward the heart of the city. With a gracious nod, Laosher accepted the invitation, his voice tinged with appreciation. From within the folds of his attire, he produced a wrapped parcel, tossing it casually into Jin Mu-kyung's waiting hands. As Jin Mu-kyung unwrapped the package, his expression shifted from curiosity to sheer astonishment. He held within his grasp a piece of millennial spiritual jadeite, its serene green hue radiating an aura of tranquility and depth. Could it truly be millennial spiritual jadeite? Jin Mu-kyung's voice was a mixture of awe and incredulity as he marveled at the precious gem. Laosher's eyes sparkled with a mix of pride and mirth. Indeed it is. A serendipitous discovery while inadvertently altering the landscape of a mountain, said the master while thinking back on the first few days of building his outpost. He found a major vein of jadeite, and he held onto most of it. This piece was nothing more but a chipped-off end, still a riceless piece in the lower realms. A genuine smile spread across Jin Mu-kyung's face, the gratitude and astonishment evident in his features. You continue to amaze me, my dear friend. This gift shall be treasured. As they strolled deeper into the bustling city, the sun bathed their surroundings in hues of gold, casting an aura of adventure and anticipation upon the journey that lay ahead. Their journey led them away from the bustling main road and into the heart of the city, where the marketplace stirred with merchants' fervor, eager to make morning sales. Alongside them flowed a tranquil canal, its waters reflecting the vibrancy of Hubei's awakening streets. As they reached the distinguished Jin residence, the grandeur of the surroundings beckoned them forward. Welcomed by the attentive staff, the guests were ushered into the main hall, an opulent space that bore witness to the wealth and prestige of the Jin family. Lang, ever the straightforward one, couldn't help but feel a touch awkward amidst such pomp and ceremony. It feels a bit odd, doesn't it? Being treated like royalty, he whispered to Ya, his voice tinged with humility. His companion, Ya, however, felt quite at home in this splendid atmosphere. A trace of a smile danced upon his lips as he responded, I must admit, Lang, it's rather delightful. Laosher, ever the sage master, sensed his disciples' sentiments and sought to reassure them. You both better get used to this. Our power will only grow, he advised with a calm demeanor that concealed his own occasional unease at the grandeur of it all. Seated at the center of the hall, Jin Mu-kyung beckoned his guests to follow suit. The grand gesture marked the commencement of the feast. The servants, graceful and practiced, soon arrived with an assortment of beverages, their gentle movements a testament to their training. A toast to the hero of the hour, Master Laosher, resonated through the hall as the guards and members of the Jin family raised their glasses. The warm applause that followed filled the air, echoing gratitude for the rabbit master's courageous actions. The feast that followed was nothing short of spectacular. Culinary delights graced the tables, offering a tantalizing array of flavors and aromas. A river of spirits flowed freely, adding mirth and camaraderie to the gathering. Conversation and laughter, too, flowed as easily as the drinks. Master Laosher, despite his modesty, enjoyed the recognition he received. With every round of applause and every appreciative word, he found himself settling into his role as the revered savior of the Jin family. As the night waned, Most guests began to retreat to their quarters, contented and with spirits raised. However, one member of the Jean family remained seated across from their guest of honor. "You must be Jean Ling, am I correct?" "Quite the capable man," Lauscher inquired with a gentle smile, noting the man's resilient capacity for alcohol. Ling's face carried a gentle flush, an undeniable testament to his indulgence in the evening's libations. He returned Lauscher's smile, appreciating the rabbit master's enduring sobriety. "You're not a lightweight either," he observed with a chuckle. "I've bested many a drinker at this table, yet you appear untouched. What's your secret?" Lauscher's eyes sparkled with a hint of mystery as he lowered his cup. "Sadly, my body refuses to yield to intoxication," he confided with a hint of regret. "I can savor the flavors, but inebriation eludes me. If it were to be spirit wine, then maybe—" Ling's expression shifted to one of mild disappointment. "What a pity," he remarked, pouring another cup for himself. "I was hoping to share a truly memorable drinking session with you. Master Mu spoke highly of your abilities, even suggesting you might be an immortal master." Lauscher's courteous response did little to dispel the enigma surrounding him. "Who knows?" he said with a cryptic smile. "Perhaps time will reveal the truth of that statement. But for now, I must take my leave. My disciples await my return." With a graceful bow, he signaled for Gio, his ever-faithful companion, to join him. Watching the master depart, Ling's contemplative expression gave way to a determined one. "I will unravel your mystery, Master Lauscher," he vowed silently, his curiosity burning as brightly as the lanterns lining the Jean residence's opulent halls. Chapter 9: Familial Issues. The golden rays of dawn slowly infiltrated the spacious rooms of the Jean family's splendid residence, rousing the household from their slumber. In one of the chambers, Tian Lang and Waya were abruptly awakened by a cacophony that reverberated through the grand halls and echoing corridors. A sense of déjà vu coursed through Ya, the tumultuous sounds invoking a shiver down his spine. Hastily, he donned his garments, his long ebony hair left untied, and darted down the corridor, driven by the familiarity of the commotion. Lang, witnessing his newfound brother's disarray, instinctively followed suit. The grandeur of the main hall awaited them, where the venerable patriarch and their master, Lauscher, stood in the presence of a delegation of distinguished guests. "Father!" Ye exclaimed, his voice filled with a mix of concern and relief upon arriving at the scene. "Yeah, there you are." Hua Chong, the head of the Hua family, bore a stern countenance as he delivered a sharp slap across his son's face. The resounding clap echoed through the hall, a stark testament to the patriarch's wrath. "How dare you run off with only a message to claim you've found a new master? Do you comprehend the time and effort I've invested in securing your promising future?" Chong thundered, his fury palpable. Ya's mother, deeply affected by the scene, involuntarily covered her mouth and shut her eyes, tears welling up as she bore witness to the striking of her beloved son. Her plea rang out in distress. "Chong, there was no need to strike our son." "I apologize, Lord Hua," Lauscher interjected calmly, his demeanor collected. Drawing from his familiarity with dramatic scenarios gleaned from his previous life, he navigated the situation with tact. "Your son came to me, seeking acceptance as my disciple. If you harbor concerns, please direct them towards me." Chong, unrelenting in his anger, bellowed, "I couldn't care less. Renounce your master this instant." Yeah, defiant and resolute, Ye stood his ground before his father. "I will not, father," he declared firmly. Hua Chong, frustrated and seething with anger, raised his arm once more, intending to strike his son. However, this time, Ye caught his father's hand, preventing the blow. Chong struggled in vain to free himself from his son's grip. He then turned his gaze back to Ye. "Your son has reached the late Dantian formation stage under my tutelage in a mere 5 months, Lauscher asserted, his arms crossed confidently. "If you believe you can find a better teacher for him, I am prepared to cut my hair and bow before such a master." Lang, finding it increasingly challenging to contain his amusement, discreetly covered his mouth to stifle a snicker. The irony of the situation was not lost on him, and he maintained a facade of solemnity. Hua Chong, after assessing Ya and then Lauscher, finally returned his attention to his son. "But that's impossible. I'm certain he hasn't reached that stage. The lord of the Hua family protested, his skepticism evident. We can put it to the test, father. I'm confident you can assess my strength firsthand, Ye offered. With a weary sigh, Huachang relinquished his anger and lowered himself into a nearby chair, his thoughts consumed by the unexpected turn of events. What kind of elixir did you employ to elevate my son's power so significantly within such a short span of time? Inquired Huachang, his voice tinged with concern. I believe there might be a slight misunderstanding, Lord Hua, Laosher responded with a calm demeanor. Your son's remarkable progress is solely the fruit of his own labor, cultivated under my guidance. I provided him with a few breath-gathering pills and later Dantian formation pills. But beyond that, it was his unwavering commitment to training that brought about this transformation. Laosher turned to Ye, instructing him, open your shirt. With obedient alacrity, Ye bared his well-defined physique, the fruits of rigorous training evident in the sculpted muscles that graced his frame. Now, how about you demonstrate the waxing moonstrike? Laosher suggested, a playful smile on his lips. Ye complied without hesitation, executing the strike with grace and precision. With each resounding blow, delicate snowflakes descended, rendering the air momentarily frigid and raising goosebumps on Huachang's skin. Laosher nodded approvingly. I trust this provides clarity. Overwhelmed by the evidence before him, Huachang sank to his knees, his posture marked by a profound bow. Master Laosher, he began, I deeply regret the disrespect I displayed earlier. It would be a profound honor for the Hua family if you would consent to instruct my son. Laosher, his enigmatic smile undisturbed, extended a forgiving hand. Your apology is accepted. I cannot fault a father seeking the best for his kin. Why don't we retire to a more amicable setting? Mu, would you care to join us? Jin Mu-kyung raised a hand in a polite gesture of decline. I regret that I must remain here to attend to pressing family matters. However, please make use of the pavilion by the lake. It provides a serene environment for your discussions. Of course, Laosher acquiesced, and with that, the assembly exited the grand hall and ventured into the lush garden, where he shared with his parents the full details of his transformative journey under his master's guidance. So, Master Laosher, you're saying that your sect isn't officially registered? Inquired Lord Hua after a short conversation with Laosh, furrowing his brow. That could pose significant challenges for you in the future. I happen to have some influential connections that might expedite your acceptance. However, it ultimately hinges on your cooperation. Thank you for your willingness to assist, replied Laosher. Could you provide more insights into the registration process? I'd appreciate it. Lord Chang nodded, lifting his cup in a toast before proceeding. I was fortunate to work in the administration during my youth, so I can shed some light on the matter. Firstly, you'll need a minimum of 5 disciples and a land purchase permit. Depending on your and your disciples' abilities, you may be assigned a sect ranking from Tier 10 to Tier 8 initially. Having a substantial financial reserve is also advisable to manage operational expenses, but I can assist with that aspect. Laosher contemplated the information. The land purchase permit is already secured. I managed to acquire it at a very reasonable price. Increasing our number of disciples is precisely why we aim to participate in the Roaring Tiger tournament. It's an opportunity to showcase our talents. Lord Hua grimaced slightly, his expression clouded with concern. There lies a complication. Only sect members are eligible to participate, and they must be under the age of 20. While Lang and you are perfect candidates, you lack the documentation to verify your sect's legitimacy. Ye's curiosity got the better of him. Is there any other way? Lord Hua hesitated before offering a suggestion. There is a somewhat risky option. In recent times, the scrutiny of sect insignias has lessened, mainly because non-affiliated individuals rarely attempt to enter such tournaments. Given your master's presence and your professional demeanor, I could enlist a friend's help to forge a sect insignia. However, it's a gamble. If you're exposed, Master Laosher, it could result in a permanent ban from ever establishing a sect. Laosher shook his head thoughtfully. The risk appears too great. We'll explore alternative avenues. Unfortunately, the Stampede tournament is also restricted to sect members and is scheduled for the fall, so that's not an option either. Huachang offered a sincere apology. I regret that I cannot provide a more effective solution. Laosher expressed his gratitude. Your assistance has been invaluable thus far. We'll continue our search for a suitable path forward. From behind a nearby house, a young lady clandestinely observed the unfolding conversation. Hidden in the shadows, she remained unseen and eavesdropped on their dialogue, contemplating her next course of action. However, before she could proceed, a voice pierced through her thoughts. "I don't mind your presence, but I would prefer not to be spied upon," remarked Lauscher calmly, addressing the hidden observer. Startled, the young lady emerged from her concealment and swiftly lowered her head in a deep bow of respect. "I am deeply sorry, Master Lauscher. I meant no disrespect." Lauscher regarded her with curiosity, his telepathic communication no longer concealed. "Come forth. Since you've overheard our discussion, I'm intrigued as to why you felt compelled to eavesdrop," he inquired openly, ensuring everyone present could hear. "I am Jean Chao." She introduced herself with another bow. Her voice quivered with timidity, resembling a shy kitten. "I heard rumors that your disciples can accelerate their cultivation at an astonishing pace. I was wondering if you could teach someone like me, who possesses no innate talent." The head of the Wa family, who had been observing silently, spoke up. "You are the one without spiritual roots," he stated, revealing his knowledge of her predicament. His words cut deep into Jean Chao's heart. She had aspired to pursue martial arts from a young age, only to have her dreams dashed when it was discovered that she was bereft of natural talent. Lauscher nodded thoughtfully. "It is possible, but the path will be arduous, far more challenging than that of Ye or Lang," he cautioned. The two boys visibly shuddered at the prospect, but they maintained their silence. Determination welled up within Jean Chao, and she mustered the courage to speak. "I am willing to do whatever it takes to prove everyone wrong." Lauscher regarded her with a solemn nod. "I will accept you as my disciple, under one condition. You must seek Jean Mukyung's approval first. He may have alternative plans for your future, and since he is a friend of mine, you must consult with him." Jean Chao nodded, her face flushed with a mixture of hope and determination. With another bow to the assembled individuals, she took her leave and hastened back to the Jean family manor, her heart filled with newfound purpose. After the Wa family had departed, Lauscher finally allowed his tense posture to relax. Such convoluted interactions were tiresome and irritating for him. He much preferred the simplicity of training his disciples and honing his own martial skills. However, the prospect of taking on another disciple did spark a glimmer of interest within him. Leaving Ye and Lang in the training grounds to continue their exercises, he decided to take a leisurely stroll through the bustling city. The sun hung high in the sky, and the scorching summer heat enveloped everything in its relentless embrace. Many city dwellers sought refuge from the unforgiving rays of the sun, but for a seasoned martial artist like Lauscher, such heat posed no hindrance. As he meandered through the city streets, he paused to purchase some sweets for himself. While it was true that his body did not require sustenance, there was still a simple joy in indulging in a delectable treat from time to time. The flavors burst across his palate, a momentary pleasure in the midst of his daily routine. In one of the narrow, grimy alleys that snaked through the city, two children were ruthlessly tormenting a beggar kid. They jeered at him as he picked up his meager meal from the dirt, which had been callously knocked from his grasp. "Hee hee, a wretch like you should be eating from the dirt," one of the tormentors taunted, his laughter echoing in the narrow passage. "Yeah, you peasant. Return to the fields where you belong and stop polluting our neighborhood with your wretched stench," the other one added, cruelly delivering a kick to the beggar kid. This act of heartlessness was the tipping point for Lauscher, and he decided to intervene. He approached the trio with a stern expression and inquired, what could this child have possibly done to deserve such treatment? The bullies were momentarily taken aback by the unexpected intervention. One of them, displaying an air of false superiority, responded, "It's bad enough that this beggar dwells in our neighborhood, stinking it up like a mangy dog. We are of the esteemed Huang family, and we cannot tolerate such filth in our midst." Lauscher, with a clever turn of words, responded, "I initially thought it was merely two hooligans causing trouble, but it's a shame to see members of the prestigious Huang family acting in such a disgraceful manner. With each word you utter, you chip away at the respect others hold for your family." The other bully defiantly declared, "No one speaks to the Huang family like that." Laosher leaned in closer and asked tauntingly, "Are you going to cry about it?" His words agitated the bullies, and one of them threatened, "I'll report you to my father, and he'll teach you a lesson you won't forget." Without backing down, Laosher replied, "I would welcome a conversation with the beggar's sect branch manager, young disciple, the beggar child, who had absorbed this exchange with a keen eye and a silent resolve, eventually spoke up. How could you possibly know about that? You must be his disciple," Laosher replied with a knowing smile. "The way you expertly absorb those kicks to minimize damage suggests you've received martial arts training. Besides, my assumption was correct, wasn't it?" The beggar kid sighed, brushed the dirt off his ragged clothes, and nodded. "Follow me," he said, leading the way. Laosher couldn't help but smile at the fortuitous encounter that had just unfolded before him. Following the kid through a labyrinth of winding alleys, they eventually reached a small, inconspicuous hut nestled near the city walls. A man sat at the doorstep, engrossed in a drink, but as soon as he caught sight of Laosher, he rose to his feet. Even though the bunny master was cloaked in his human disguise, he sensed an unsettling, penetrating gaze from the man. It was as if the stranger could peer through the illusion. "Hey Menu, who's the guy?" he inquired after a brief pause. "I don't know, but he recognized me as the disciple of my master, and he wishes to speak with him," the boy replied, nonchalantly shrugging. "TSK, do you think you can just waltz in here like that?" The man pointed at Laosher, evidently inebriated. "Let him in." A commanding voice resonated from within, and "Sober up, you insufferable mutt." The inebriated man grimaced but reluctantly stepped aside while muttering to himself. The interior was no tidier than the exterior, with papers scattered haphazardly, dilapidated bookshelves and tables, and a solitary figure seated in the center. His hair was tied back with a frayed bandana, and his shabby attire hung loosely on his slender frame. "The illustrious Laosher graces my humble abode. I am truly honored," he said sarcastically. "So, what brings you here?" The man placed his hand on the table, a hint of skepticism in his eyes. "I have a slight predicament. You see," Laosher began, paying no mind to the man's sarcastic tone. "I wish to send my students to the upcoming martial tournaments, but it appears that only those associated with an official sect can participate. I need at least 5 students to establish my own sect officially, and I thought the beggar's sect would have the most valuable information. I require 2 more promising young disciples in need of a master. Any suggestions?" Laosher concluded, sliding a substantial jade token onto the man's table. The beggar picked up the jade, inspecting it carefully. "Seems like you know how to pose the right questions," he remarked with a grin. "I'll send a message to the Jean family in a few days, considering you are their guest at the moment." "Much appreciated," Laosher nodded and then departed the hut. As he made his way back, gracefully leaping from rooftop to rooftop, he delved into his reservoir of memories on martial techniques, preparing to impart this knowledge to Chow. With the Hua family departed, the place transformed back into a serene paradise. The 3 disciples gathered under the shade of the gazebo, engaging in a relaxed conversation. "No way, you didn't have any days off?" Chow asked, her eyes wide with astonishment. "Well, we did have a few, but even those days were mostly filled with intense study," you explained. You're ruining my storytelling," Lang playfully protested. "I was just setting the record straight." "Relax, brother," you replied with a smile, sipping his tea. "I wish I could have witnessed it." Chow's face radiated with curiosity. "Yeah, it wasn't a pleasant sight," you admitted, averting his eyes as he recalled the grueling training they had endured, a shiver running down his spine. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything," Laosher said as he landed next to them. "Nothing, master." Both boys quickly bowed, followed by Chow. "Good, because both of you boys are heading to the training field for your exercises. The 3rd set now," Laosher ordered with a stern voice. "Yes, master." The 2 of them bowed in unison and rushed off. "Now, Chow," Laosher spoke in a gentler tone. "I hope you're prepared. What you're about to learn will test your limits. I won't sugarcoat it. It's going to be excruciating, and most would lose their sanity from the pain." "I don't care, master. I'll do whatever it takes to uphold the honor of the Jean family name." Chow bowed, her hair flowing in the wind. "I see. I assume Mu Kyung allowed you to join?" Laosher inquired as they walked together. "Yes, He was eager to see how I'd progress, the girl confirmed. They walked to the training field where the two boys were already engrossed in their training. Passing them, they entered a separate training building with its own designated training floor. Now, I'll teach you the Kirin's wind technique, Lauscher began the explanation. The technique was a peculiar one, requiring practitioners to contort their bodies in unnatural ways, follow an almost perfect sequence of movements, all while focusing on their dantian. Chow experienced pain beyond her imagination, but she gritted her teeth and persevered, attempting the set again and again until she finally executed it correctly. I'll leave you to practice. Only stop if you feel a chilling sensation in your shoulders and ankles. If you stop before that, you'll lose all your progress and have to start from scratch, Lauscher advised. He was aware that this technique could potentially be crippling, but he believed that telling Chow might only hinder her progress, as fear of its consequences could be more distracting. Mu woke up with a pounding headache, the aftermath of slogging through a mountain of paperwork that required his attention and signature. All he desired was a moment of quiet training to ease the stress, but as he reached the training floor, his heart nearly leaped from his chest. There lay Chow, her skin pallid, and dried blood on her feet. In his haste, he discarded what he held and knelt beside her. What happened? He scanned the surroundings but found no signs of a struggle. Quickly confirming she was still alive, albeit barely, he noted her weakened and emaciated state. It seemed like just yesterday when he saw her brimming with energy. Patriarch, Chow whispered. What is it? Mu leaned in. I did it. I became a martial artist, she said before losing consciousness again. Mu couldn't comprehend what had transpired, but a sudden wave of resentment toward Lauscher washed over him. What did you do to her? He fumed as he carried the girl to her room and summoned the family pharmacist. Will she recover? Mu inquired of the healer. She will, but it appears to be overexertion. It will take a few weeks. How did she end up like this? The pharmacist, puzzled, glanced around. Mu, however, had disappeared. Lauscher, he bellowed, pounding his fist on the master's door. The rabbit master swiftly assumed his human form and donned a garment before answering the door. Morning, Patriarch. What happened? He inquired, a puzzled expression on his face. Chow, what did you do to her? Mu demanded, his face flushed. All I did was teach her a profound technique. Where is she? Led me there. Lauscher hastily adjusted his clothes. This way. Mu sprinted back to Chow's room, the master following closely. Chow lay in bed, her frail body appearing as though she hadn't eaten in weeks. Lauscher took her hand and allowed his chi to envelop her. He was astonished by what he discovered. An uncontrollable core, nearly the size of the boy's, draining her life essence. Despite creating an unstable core within herself, Chow couldn't control it. Lauscher forcefully slowed down the core and used his chi to rejuvenate Chow's body. It took some time, but Mu's anxiety eased as he witnessed color returning to the girl's face. I need to examine her body, Lauscher stated in a dry voice as he began to disrobe her. You what? Mu exclaimed, realizing that for the master to heal her, a unique method might be necessary. As expected, Chow complied with Lauscher's request to train, albeit she did not stop even after she was out of breath. Now golden scales adorned both of her shoulders and ankles. Lauscher sighed in relief, knowing she had become a hybrid, capable of becoming a martial artist. What are those? And why does she have them? Mu impatiently inquired. She asked me to make her a martial artist, no matter what. Right. Lauscher glanced at Mu, who nodded slightly. This was the most straightforward way to achieve it. Now she's half spirit beast, a Qilin to be exact. So you're telling me that she's no longer human? Mu demanded, his anger resurfacing. Yes, Patriarch. This was her only choice, her fervent wish. I don't hesitate to acknowledge it. Moreover, this transformation not only extends her life but ensures she'll never be plagued by illness, Lauscher clarified. Still, you should have come to me to discuss this. Mu's fist crashed into the wall, leaving a hole in its wake. How about we wait until she wakes and let her decide if it was the right choice? Lauscher suggested, holding his ground. Mu sighed, glancing at Chow. All right, let's wait. Give her this. It's a pill refined from a 200-year-old ginseng. It will aid her immensely, Lauscher said, producing a golden pill from his ring. Thank you. Mu accepted the pill and administered it to Chow. It didn't take long for Chow to awaken. 2 days later, she called for a maid to bring her food. Everyone rejoiced at her evident recovery. The pill had propelled her healing forward by leaps and bounds while also strengthening her meridians. "Uncle!" she exclaimed, leaping from her bed to hug Mu. "I am finally a martial artist." Her joy echoed through the room. "Yes, but..." Mu involuntarily glanced at her shoulders. "I don't care." Chow beamed. "If anything, I think it's beautiful." "Good morning, disciple." Laosher's head poked into the room. "Master Laosher." Chow bowed deeply. "I did as you told me, and I felt it. Good. I sensed your core. It was a bit overwhelmed, but I calmed it. When you're ready, come and meet your brothers in the training hall." "Laosher, wait." Mu halted him. "I was wrong to misjudge you when she fell ill." The patriarch bowed. "No worries. I always want the best for my disciples." The master nodded. "I'll be off. I've received some news about 2 more potential disciples." He held a paper in his hand, one that a beggar delivered for him just last night. As the Roaring Tiger tournament loomed merely a month away, Laosher found himself pressed for time to ensure all sect paperwork was impeccably in order. To fulfill the requirement, he needed to register 5 students. With Lang, Ya, and Chow already under his tutelage, he was short of 2. However, the information he'd recently acquired could prove to be the key to bridging this gap. Donning his human guise, he gracefully exited the main gate of the Jean family estate, merging with the throngs of people that animated the main street. He meticulously followed the directions inscribed on the parchment, which led him to an alley where a disheveled man sat with a plate scantily adorned with a few coins. This was the beggar he was meant to meet. "The crickets are unusually vocal today," Laosher intoned the code phrase. "And the flies display uncommon discourtesy," the man retorted, nodding as he pocketed his scant earnings. "Follow me," he signaled to Laosher, who trailed behind him into the murky depths of the alley. Navigating through a maze of turns and past beggars whose appearances were far from clean, they arrived at a shack squeezed between the city's wall and an adjacent building, its size no more than 10 square meters. A towering man with a forbidding scowl stood guard at the doorway, but grudgingly swung it open for them. "I shall await here, sir." The beggar bowed deeply, leaving Laosher to enter alone. The interior was Spartan, with a few shelves adorning the walls and a table set squarely in the center. Seated behind it, cross-legged, was a man deeply engrossed in smoking an ancient pipe. His appearance was marginally cleaner than the others, but what truly set him apart was the discernible aura of chi that Laosher sensed emanating from him. It was substantial, indicating that the beggar was not just an ordinary martial artist, but one seasoned by many battles. "So, you're in need of 2 young recruits for your sect?" One might wonder about the urgency, or why you haven't simply sought candidates more openly, the beggar mused, his expression sly, eyes gleaming with curiosity. "But I'm not one to pry into matters that don't concern me." "Your discretion is appreciated," Laosher responded, taking a seat to maintain eye level with the beggar. He believed it disrespectful to loom over someone who was extending their assistance. "Have you found anyone who fits the criteria?" "Money talks," the beggar quipped, twirling his pipe with a flourish. His eyes widened, and the pipe nearly slipped from his grasp as he noticed the substantial jade piece Laosher placed on the table. "Well, I'll be." "You certainly understand the art of persuasion," he remarked, his voice tinged with newfound respect as he carefully examined the jade. Satisfied, he pocketed it and rang a small bell. Moments later, the door was pushed open by the imposing doorman, revealing 2 boys, likely aged around 14 and 16. Their attire mirrored that of the beggars, yet their physiques told a different story. Their arms, robust and well-defined, betrayed no signs of malnourishment, and a nascent aura of chi enveloped them. These 2 were orphaned after their parents defied a martial artist from a demonic sect. They hailed from wealth, but as fate would have it, not everyone is afforded the luxury of reclaiming their standing after a fall, the beggar explained, his voice dripping with an icy detachment. The coldness in his tone seemed to mask a deeper disdain, as if the mere mention of the boys stirred a well of contempt within him. "Take them with you, though I'd temper any optimism. These boys are shells of their former selves, scarcely speaking, and they've proved of little use even for beggars' work," he said, nudging the boys gently towards Lauscher. Lauscher gave the beggar a nod of acknowledgement, understanding the depth of trauma the boys must have endured. "I will manage," he affirmed with quiet confidence. Rising to his full height, he gently took the boys by their arms, preparing for a discreet departure. In that moment, Lauscher called upon a technique reserved for dire situations or swift exits. Focusing his chi, he released the Blue Dragon Mist technique. A serene blue smoke enveloped them, a sight as beautiful as it was mysterious. The boys, caught in the gentle whirl of azure mist, found themselves whisked away from the dingy alley, only to reappear in the breathtaking expanse of the Jean family's garden. The Blue Dragon Mist technique, an art of escape he had longed to utilize, performed flawlessly. In the span of a heartbeat, they had been transported back to the safety and splendor of the garden, leaving the harsh realities of the alley far behind. This not only showcased Lauscher's formidable skill but also symbolized a new beginning for the two boys, now under the care and guidance of their new master within the nurturing environment of the Jean estate. "What are your names?" Lauscher inquired gently, settling himself onto a seat within the serene pavilion. "I'm Rong Tao," the elder one declared. "Rong Jiang," the younger one murmured, his voice so faint it was almost lost in the breeze. "Fear not. Though you've lost much, this also presents you with a blank canvas for new achievements. A wise man once said, 'When you're at the bottom of the well, the only direction left is up,'" Lauscher offered, his tone encouraging, though he doubted his words could immediately lift the weight of their past. "Thank you," Rong Tao responded with a bow, his voice carrying a trace of newfound hope. "We will endeavor to do our utmost." Rong Jiang remained silent, yet mirrored his brother's gesture of respect. "Are you prepared to formally join the Astral Moon Path sect? Despite the circumstances of our meeting, I insist on your freedom to choose." "If you're hesitant," Lauscher began, only to be cut off by an eager Tao. "We are willing. Becoming martial artists has always been our dream." Tao's voice was tinged with desperation, but Lauscher could see a spark of determination in his eyes, a flame that even Jiang seemed to share, his small fist clenched in a silent vow. "That simplifies matters," Lauscher said, a smile breaking through his stoic demeanor, relieved that persuasion was unnecessary. "I'll arrange for a few necessities from the Jean family, including accommodations and new attire. Adhere strictly to the household rules and dedicate yourselves to training alongside your new siblings." Promptly, as if summoned by the unfolding of their new chapter, a maid from the Jean family appeared, guiding the boys to cleanse away the remnants of their former lives. Once they were out of sight, Lauscher allowed himself a moment of respite, leaning back against the cool stone bench, letting out a weary sigh into the tranquility of the garden. "You seem to bear this burden as if it weighs more heavily on you," Mu observed, taking a seat beside Lauscher with a quiet grace that belied his surprise. "Age brings its own challenges. After wandering for so long, I'd nearly forgotten the complexities involved in leading a sect," Lauscher confessed, weaving a veil of half-truths with the hope it would be convincing. "Though I cannot begin to fathom the expanse of your years, Master, your achievements are remarkable. For those of us confined to a human lifespan, the enduring existence of a high-level martial artist is beyond our comprehension," Mu remarked, pausing to sip his tea. "Who is the oldest person you've encountered in your travels?" "Around 10,000 years, give or take," Lauscher replied, recalling a character from an old manga, a grand master named Typhon, whose temper was as fiery as a youth's. A genuine laugh escaped him at the memory. "Indeed," Mu mused, a smile playing on his lips as he pondered the tale. "Do you believe the technique Chao has mastered will suffice to make her formidable?" "Formidable?" Lauscher echoed, a hint of amusement in his voice. "I fear for anyone who dares to challenge her. The technique she has learned is of a mortal origin, Mu. It is not to be underestimated." At these words, Mu's gaze shifted, a profound realization dawning upon him. The implications of Lauscher's statement that his daughter might ascend to immortality overwhelmed him with emotion. As he dabbed at his eyes, a silent pledge formed in his heart to support Lauscher as if they were brothers sworn by fate. In the ensuing silence, they found solace in the garden's tranquil sounds and the gentle caress of the spring breeze. Time seemed to stand still, enveloped by the peace of the moment, until the Rong brothers reappeared, transformed by cleanliness and new attire. Their once grimy bodies and tangled hair were now replaced with cleanliness and new garments, rendering them almost unrecognizable from their earlier state. "Excellent," Lauscher remarked with approval, rising to greet their renewed appearances. "Now, I'll need a drop of blood from each of you onto these sect jades," he said, presenting two small jades that dangled from strings. As the brothers complied, their blood mingled with the jades, which responded by shifting to a vibrant blue and emitting a brief luminescence. "Proceed to the training hall and heed Lang's guidance," he directed. With the boys off to their new beginning, Lauscher admired the 5 jades in the sunlight, a symbol of his sect's growing strength. Tucking them away, he summoned Geo, and the blue bird alighted on the pavilion table with elegance. "We have all we require. Prepare, for we depart this evening," Lauscher instructed, a note of anticipation in his voice. "Understood, master. I shall be ready," Geo responded, her azure plumage glistening under the sun's declining rays, embodying the promise of their forthcoming journey. Chapter 10. It's official now. As the first light of dawn painted the sky with strokes of gold and crimson, Lauscher made his final preparations for departure. His belongings, few but essential, were meticulously packed into a compact bundle that belied the depth of his journey ahead. The serene morning air was filled with a sense of solemnity as he made his way to bid farewell to Mu, the patriarch of the Jean family. Mu awaited him in the courtyard, his expression a complex tapestry of respect, gratitude, and a hint of melancholy. "Your path leads you away from us once more, Lauscher," he said, his voice steady yet tinged with emotion. "The Jean family owes you a debt we can never fully repay. May your journey be swift and your return swift." Lauscher clasped Mu's hand, feeling the warmth and the unspoken bond between them. "Your kindness has been a beacon during my stay," Lauscher replied. "I promise to return before the full moon illuminates the night sky. Look after my disciples in my absence. They are young trees that have just begun to stretch towards the sky." From there, he made his way to the training facility, where his disciples were immersed in their morning drills. The air was alive with the sound of exertion and the sharp exhales of focused breaths. As he entered, a hush fell over the room, every pair of eyes turning towards him with a mixture of surprise and anticipation. "My journey requires solitude and speed, far beyond what our collective travel would allow," Lauscher announced, his voice carrying a firm yet gentle timbre. "Each of you has shown remarkable progress, and I trust in your dedication to continue on this path in my absence. Remember, the essence of our sect is not in its leader, but in the heart and spirit of its disciples." Expressions of disappointment flitted across their faces, quickly replaced by nods of understanding. They approached one by one, bowing deeply, their respect and promise to uphold his teachings clear in their eyes. As Lauscher turned to leave, a familiar flutter of wings caught his attention. Geo, his loyal blue bird, alighted on his shoulder with a chirp that seemed to carry a joyful note. Her presence was a comfort, a slice of home that would accompany him on his solitary path. Without looking back, Lauscher stepped beyond the bounds of the Jean family's domain, his steps light yet unwavering. Geo's presence was a silent encouragement, her bright azure feathers a contrast against the dawning light. Together, they ventured into the unknown, driven by a purpose that was as clear as the sky above them. The disciples watched in silence, their spirits buoyed by Lauscher's faith in them. As his figure receded into the distance, they returned to their training, their movements more determined than ever. Lauscher's journey was not just his own. It was a chapter in the larger story of the Astral Moon Path sect, a narrative that they were now an integral part of. As Lauscher bid farewell to the familiar landscapes of Hubei, he embraced the form that had become as much a part of him as his very soul. In the secluded cover of the woods, he transformed, his body melding into the shape of the rabbit that had first arrived in this world. But this was no ordinary rabbit. Gone was the small, white bunny that had stumbled into the murim world, weak and trembling. In its place stood a creature of remarkable stature and strength, a reflection of his journey both in spirit and power. Lauscher, now a majestic figure standing 5 feet tall, was cloaked in fur that shimmered like molten gold under the sun's touch, adorned with sharp patterns of white that ran like rivulets across his body. His eyes, deep and purple, gleamed like precious gemstones, mirroring the depth of his wisdom and the intensity of his spirit. Dashing through the woods towards the northern Shaanxi region, where the official registration of his sect awaited, Laoshi allowed the memories of his first days in this world to flood back. Those initial moments of vulnerability and fear seemed like distant echoes now, overshadowed by the confidence that surged through his veins with each leap and bound. His transformation was not just physical but existential, embodying the very essence of growth and resilience that the murim world demanded. The landscape unfurled before him, a tapestry of greens and browns blurred by his swift passage. Laoshi marveled at the harmony of his movements, the way his powerful legs propelled him forward, each muscle a testament to his dedication and his relentless pursuit of mastery. The world around him was alive with the sounds of nature, a symphony that accompanied his journey, a reminder of the vibrant life that thrived in the shadows of the martial world. As dusk began to paint the sky in hues of orange and purple, Laoshi found a secluded spot to set up camp for the night. The tranquility of the forest provided a perfect backdrop for reflection, the soft rustling of leaves and the distant calls of nocturnal creatures a comforting reminder of the world's beauty and mystery. With practiced ease, he gathered materials for a small fire, its flickering light casting dancing shadows around him. Sitting beside the warmth of the flames, Laoshi allowed himself a moment of peace, his thoughts drifting to his disciples, to the challenges that awaited, and to the future of the astral moon path sect. The fire crackled, a companionable sound in the quiet of the night, and as he gazed into the flames, Laoshi felt a deep connection to the world around him, a sense of belonging that transcended planes and realms. In his rabbit form, amidst the serenity of the forest and the comfort of the fire he had built, Laoshi was a picture of calm determination. His journey from a frightened, diminutive creature to a formidable, golden-furred master was a testament to the transformative power of perseverance, a narrative that was still unfolding with each day that passed. As the first night of his journey to Shaanxi enveloped him in its cool embrace, Laoshi was not alone. He was surrounded by the ancient wisdom of the forest, the unspoken support of his disciples, and the unwavering resolve that had brought him this far. Here, under the canopy of stars, he was more than a master, more than a spirit animal. He was a beacon of hope and strength, ready to face whatever the path ahead might hold. As Laoshi nestled by the dwindling fire, his dreams took him back to the days spent amidst anime conventions, video games, and towering piles of manga. Each memory was infused with a warmth and vibrancy, a testament to the joy those hobbies had brought him. He wandered through this familiar dreamscape, a smile playing on his lips as he revisited the excitement of discovering a new anime series, the thrill of conquering a particularly challenging video game, and the comfort found in the pages of his favorite manga. Yet, as the dream wove its way through these cherished moments, a shift began to occur. The vibrant colors of the convention halls and the fantastical worlds of his video games started to blend with the lush landscapes and the pulse of chi that characterized the murim world. It was as though the lines between the fantastical stories he had once immersed himself in and the reality of his current existence were blurring. In this melded dreamscape, Laoshi began to see the parallels between his past and present. The adventures, friendships, and challenges that had once been confined to screens and pages were now a part of his daily life. He realized that while those old memories were sources of joy, they had also been an escape from a reality that had seemed mundane in comparison to the vibrant worlds he had lost himself in. But now, the fantastical was real. The murim world, with its boundless possibilities and the tangible presence of chi, offered him the chance to forge his own reality. It was a world where his actions carried weight, where the bonds he formed were not just of camaraderie but of survival and growth, and where his journey was not predetermined by the storyline of a game or the plot of a manga but was his to shape. Awakening from the dream, Laoshi felt a sobering sense of clarity. The fire had burned down to embers, casting a soft glow in the pre-dawn light. The realization that his once escapist fantasies were now the fabric of his life filled him with a complex mixture of nostalgia and determination. While the joyful escapades of his past would always be a part of him, he now embraced the opportunity to live out new adventures in a world where magic and martial prowess defined the very essence of existence. Sitting up, Laosher took a moment to absorb the tranquility of the forest around him. A slight smile touched his lips as he contemplated the journey ahead. Laosher, in his majestic rabbit form, bounded with incredible agility, his golden fur gleaming in the sunlight as he navigated the terrain with ease. Jiao, with her vibrant azure feathers catching the light, darted and weaved through the air, her movements a dazzling display of speed and grace. The forest became a blur around them as they pushed each other to their limits, laughter and chirps echoing between them, filling the journey with light-hearted joy. As the sun climbed higher, the outline of Leanfin began to emerge on the horizon, its ancient walls and bustling gateways beckoning travelers from near and far. Recognizing the need for discretion, Laosher slipped into a hidden grove, the magic of his transformation enveloping him. In moments, the golden rabbit was gone, replaced by the human form of Laosher, dressed in simple traveler's clothes that would allow him to blend into the city crowd. Emerging from the grove, Laosher and Jiao, now perched discreetly on his shoulder, approached Leanfin with a sense of anticipation. The city was a vibrant tapestry of life, where the old met the new in a harmonious blend. The gates of Leanfin opened to reveal bustling streets lined with shops and stalls, each offering a myriad of goods that ranged from exotic spices and silks to intricate weaponry and scrolls filled with ancient knowledge. The air was filled with the sounds of haggling, the rich aromas of street food, and the melodies of musicians entertaining passers-by. Artisans displayed their crafts with pride, while merchants from distant lands shared stories of their travels. The people of Leanfin moved with purpose, their faces reflecting the diversity of the murim world, from seasoned warriors bearing the scars of countless battles to wide-eyed children marveling at the wonders around them. Laosher navigated through the city with an appreciative eye, taking in the sights and sounds that made Leanfin a melting pot of cultures and traditions. The city was alive with energy, a place where every corner held a new discovery and every encounter promised a story. Jiao, ever curious, flitted from one shoulder to the other, her gaze captivated by the kaleidoscope of activity around them. As they delved deeper into the heart of Leanfin, the sense of purpose that had brought Laosher to this city began to resurface. Yet, for a moment, he allowed himself to be swept up in the vibrant life of the city, a reminder of the world's beauty and the myriad paths that lay open before him and his disciples on their journey through the murim world. As Master Laosher and Jiao made their way through the bustling streets of Leanfin, the vibrancy of the city gradually gave way to a more solemn atmosphere. The buildings here stood taller, their architecture imposing, a testament to the gravity of the institutions they housed. It wasn't long before Laosher stood before the government building dedicated to the affairs of sects, a structure that commanded respect through its sheer presence. The building was a robust edifice, its walls made of dark stone that seemed to absorb the sunlight, giving it a somber appearance. Massive wooden doors, intricately carved with symbols representing the martial world, stood open, as if welcoming those who had business within. Despite its openness, there was an air of exclusivity that surrounded it, a clear distinction from the lively streets Laosher had just traversed. Stepping inside, the transition was stark. The bustling noise of the city was replaced by an almost reverent silence, the cool interior a sharp contrast to the warmth of the day. The spacious hall was minimally occupied, with only a few individuals present besides the officials who manned various counters and desks. The floors, polished to a high shine, echoed the footsteps of those who walked them, adding to the solemnity of the environment. The officials, dressed in formal attire that signified their roles within the governance of sects, carried themselves with an air of importance. They were the gatekeepers to the recognition and legitimacy of martial sects within the region, a fact that was not lost on Laosher as he approached the main counter. Jia, sensing the seriousness of the setting, remained quietly perched on Laosher's shoulder, her bright colors a stark contrast to the muted tones of the building's interior. The officials behind the counter looked up as Laosher approached, their expressions neutral, waiting for him to state his business. Master Laosher approached the counter with a composed demeanor, Jiao's presence on his shoulder a silent support against the solemnity of the government building. The official who greeted him, a rather portly man with an air of self-importance, peered down at Laosher through narrowed eyes. This man, known as Wu, carried himself with a condescending air that seemed ill-suited to the seriousness of the institution. "State your business," Wu demanded, his tone dripping with disdain, as if he had already judged Laoshi unworthy of his time. "I am here to formally register the Astral Moon Path sect," Laoshi responded, maintaining his calm despite Wu's attitude. He carefully presented the sect jades, each marked by his disciples' blood, alongside the documents proving ownership of their land in the Thousand Mountains region. "In the registration fee," Wu interrupted, 50 golden coins. "Standard commission." Laoshi, though slightly taken aback by the steep fee, produced the coins without protest, placing them on the counter with a steady hand. Wu's eyes lit up at the sight of the gold, but his smug satisfaction was short-lived. "Now, let's assess your physical prowess. Hit the measuring stone as hard as you can," Wu instructed, gesturing toward a large stone that stood as a testament to the strength of those who wished to establish a sect. The disdain in Wu's voice, laced with a challenge he deemed Laoshi unworthy of, ignited a spark of frustration within him. Approaching the stone, Laoshi focused his chi, his aim not just to prove his strength, but to silence the doubt in Wu's eyes. He struck the stone with a force that resonated through the room, the impact sending fissures crawling across its surface. The stone quivered, a testament to Laoshi's unbridled power, teetering on the brink of collapse. Wu's smugness vanished, replaced by a look of utter shock. "Your cultivation level, now," he stammered, suddenly aware that he had vastly underestimated the man before him. Laoshi, realizing he had let his frustration guide his hand, moderated his chi to demonstrate his cultivation level. It soared beyond the minimum requirement, enveloping the room with a palpable sense of his power. Wu, now thoroughly humbled, scurried to prepare the sect sigil and the necessary papers, his movements hurried and his demeanor infinitely more respectful. "Everything seems in order, Master Laoshi," Wu said, his voice now carrying a tremor of respect as he handed over the sect registration papers and the freshly minted sect sigil. "The Astral Moon Path sect is officially recognized by the governing body of sections." As Laoshi accepted the documents and the sigil, the weight of the moment settled upon him. The respect now shown by Wu was a small victory, but the true triumph lay in the recognition of his sect, a dream that had finally materialized. With the formal recognition of the Astral Moon Path sect securely in hand, Laoshi's spirit soared, though a minor oversight momentarily tethered his jubilation: the absence of the sect seal. Upon his reminder, Wu, flushed with embarrassment, hurriedly assured that a new seal would be crafted for him, requesting a little patience for the task to be completed. Seeking to mark this pivotal moment, Laoshi ventured back into the bustling heart of Linfen and acquired a bottle of fine sake. With the city sprawling below him, he sought refuge atop a secluded rooftop, yearning for a few moments of solitude to bask in the triumph of his efforts and to enjoy a well-deserved drink. Gio, perched on the edge of the rooftop, regarded Laoshi with a mix of concern and disapproval. "Master, celebrating alone with sake on a rooftop? There are better ways to mark such an achievement," she commented, her voice reflecting her worry over his choice of solitude and alcohol as companions in celebration. Laoshi, lifting the bottle in a silent salute to the endless sky above, merely smiled at her concern. "Sometimes, Jiu, we find clarity in solitude. This moment, this victory, is not just for the sect but for the journey that led us here. Allow me this small indulgence." Frustrated by her inability to sway him and recognizing her place as his follower, not his equal, Jiu sighed. "Very well, master. While you find solace in solitude, I'll seek out my own distractions." With those words, she took to the skies, her brilliant azure form cutting through the air with grace. From her vantage point, Jiu watched over Linfen, the city a tapestry of lives woven together, bustling streets below offering a myriad of distractions. On the rooftop, with a bottle of sake in hand, Laoshi reflected on the path ahead, particularly the upcoming tournaments that dotted the calendar. 3 major competitions were set to unfold over the year, one in spring, another in summer, and the last in fall. Each presented an invaluable opportunity to elevate the standing of his newly formed sect through the prowess of his disciples. Lang and Ya, having benefited from his direct tutelage and the rigorous training in the mountains, were well prepared. However, The other 3 disciples lacked comparable preparation. Lao Shi recognized the potential issue. If only 2 of his disciples excelled while the others faltered in the early rounds, it could reflect poorly on the sect as a whole. Yet, with merely a week to train them, conventional methods would fall short. But Lao Shi was far from conventional. A smile played on his lips as he considered the unconventional yet potent strategies at his disposal. With a sense of purpose, he smoothly vaulted from the rooftop and descended the stairs of the government building. Inside, Wu was visibly tense, perhaps anticipating Lao Shi's reaction to the seal. He extended a small, intricately decorated box towards him. "May you have safe travels, Master Lao Shi," Wu said, bowing with a respect that had notably deepened since their first encounter. Stepping outside, Lao Shi found Ju already waiting, her presence a constant reassurance. "Let us go. I need every moment with my disciples," he declared, placing the box containing the sect seal into his storage ring. Without hesitation, he leaped upwards, soaring out of the city with Gio flying by his side. The urgency of their mission was clear: to harness every available moment for the preparation of his disciples, ensuring that the Astral Moon Path sect would shine in the upcoming tournaments. Lang found himself leaning heavily against a support beam that propped up the upper floor. Despite his exhaustion, he couldn't help but admire the beam's intricate dragon design, a detail he had never taken the time to notice before. Its elaborate craftsmanship seemed almost alive as he caught his breath, inches away from the artwork. "Already out of breath?" He gasped, struggling for air himself as he slumped over his sword. "You guys are demons, I swear," Chow exclaimed, too drained to stand. She lay flat on her back, the strenuous training session leaving her seeing stars. The Rong brothers, though silent, shared in the group's overwhelming fatigue, their faces a mirror of shared suffering. "This," Lang managed to say, picking his sword back up with a wry grin, "is what we considered a light day back in the mountains." He chuckled weakly. "On the days Master Lao Shi was in a particularly stern mood or felt like pushing us, we usually ended up fainting before it was over." Chow, despite her exhaustion, couldn't help but smile at the memory, her body buzzing with a newfound vitality that hastened her recovery. "Okay, one more round," she declared, sitting up with a mix of determination and masochism. "You guys go ahead. I don't think I can even stand," Rong Tao admitted, his brother nodding in weary agreement beside him. "Just what sort of teacher do we have, big bro?" the younger one asked, a mix of awe and apprehension in his voice. "One that will surely make us famous," Tao replied with a nod, offering his brother a gentle nudge of encouragement. One round at a time, Lang was resolute in his determination to excel at the upcoming Roaring Tiger tournament. He devoted every moment of wakefulness to training, pushing his muscles to their limits until they were on the brink of rebellion. When physical exertion was no longer possible, he would sit in meditative stillness, legs crossed, delving deep into the refinement of his qi. He harbored no doubts about his strength surpassing that of Yu. Yet he acknowledged that Yu's mastery over qi control was superior. Chow, having recently joined their rigorous training regime, adapted remarkably well thanks to the transformative changes her body had undergone. Golden scales had emerged on her shoulders and ankles, integrating seamlessly into her being. Soft yet durable, their silky texture belied the strength they conferred upon her. The technique Lao Shi had imparted to her swiftly became a cornerstone of her daily practice, rendering her movements more fluid and precise. This newfound mastery over her physical form granted her such control that even Yu found it challenging to land a hit without exerting significant effort. Unlike the others, Chow gravitated towards the spear, finding that its reach and versatility resonated more with her combat style than swords ever could. The Rong brothers, meanwhile, remained true to their origins as fist fighters. Lacking the formal instruction the others had received, they continued to hone their traditional fighting techniques. Their dedication to their old style, even in the absence of direct guidance, spoke to their commitment to growth and their trust in Lao Shi's eventual tutelage. Lao Shi's journey back to Hubei was fraught with challenges that seemed designed to delay his reunion with his disciples. First, he encountered thieves in the mountains, a situation he couldn't simply bypass without intervening. Then, as if the universe conspired to test his resolve further, a fire broke out in a small town along his route. Driven by a sense of duty, Lauscher lent his aid, though he couldn't shake the feeling that these obstacles were meticulously placed to slow him down. His troubles didn't end with the fire. As he resumed his journey, a storm enveloped him, unleashing a torrential downpour accompanied by relentless lightning strikes. Concerned for Ju's safety amidst the tempest, Lauscher used his strength to carve a shelter into a hillside, creating a makeshift cave. There, he kindled a fire, seeking to warm their chilled bodies and dry their drenched fur and feathers. The storm abated by dawn, allowing them to set out once more, only to be met with a palpable sense of foreboding. Jia's voice echoed in Lauscher's mind, alerting him to a darkly clad figure looming ahead on the road. "Heed my advice, master. Stay concealed," Jia cautioned from the safety of the skies. Heeding her warning, Lauscher morphed into the guise of an elderly farmer, his chi meticulously concealed. Armed with nothing but a stick to serve as a cane, he approached the ominous stranger. The man, cloaked in darkness as much as in attire, halted Lauscher to inquire about a man accompanied by a blue bird, brandishing a sketch that captured Lauscher's human likeness and Jio with unsettling accuracy. He ventured northward a few days past. Lauscher feigned ignorance with a voice that matched his frail disguise, though my glimpse was fleeting, for he seemed in great haste. Satisfied with the ruse, the dark figure allowed him to pass. Lauscher didn't dare revert to his true form until he was certain of solitude, after which he unleashed the full might of his chi into his legs, propelling himself toward Hubei with unprecedented speed. Jio, struggling to keep pace, nevertheless understood the urgency driving her master's swift flight. They reunited miles later, resuming their journey at a more measured pace, only to arrive at Hubei's gates under the cloak of night. The guards, initially hesitant to admit them due to the late hour, quickly altered their stance upon the presentation of the Jin family insignia, allowing Lauscher entry without further delay. The relief of having navigated the perils and obstacles of his return washed over him as he stepped through the gates, his thoughts now solely on rejoining his disciples and resuming their training. Despite not requiring sleep due to his unique constitution, Lauscher had recently begun to enforce a period of rest upon himself, aiming to preserve a sense of normalcy in his life. It struck him as odd to remain the sole wakeful entity in a world where slumber was a necessity for others. This self-imposed sleep, though not natural, bore a striking resemblance to genuine rest, except for the dreams it conjured, vivid and intense, echoing the clarity he experienced on the journey to Shangxi. Upon reaching his quarters, well within the range of his technique, Lauscher materialized inside his room with practiced ease. Gently, he placed Jio in her nest, the day's exertions weighing heavily on her. She succumbed to sleep almost instantly, her fatigue overtaking her in mere moments. In contrast, Lauscher found himself needing to exert a conscious effort to coax his body into a state of rest. Focusing his mind, he sought the threshold of sleep, a practice that, despite its artificiality, connected him more deeply to the human experience he still cherished. This dream, unlike the others, was a journey back to a less comforting past on Earth. Lauscher found himself reliving moments of confrontation with his father, who expressed disappointment in him for neither securing employment nor exploring romantic relationships. The scenario took a darker turn with the sudden loss of his mother to a heart attack, an event that pushed his former self deeper into the realms of fantasy for solace. Despite the luxurious home afforded by his family's wealth, he was engulfed in solitude, escaping the bitter reality that he felt undeserving of such opulence. Meanwhile, his brother was steadily advancing towards taking over the helm of their father's company. Awakening from this unsettling reverie, Lauscher found himself enveloped in the stillness of the night. The remnants of his troubled memories left him questioning his worthiness of the incredible power he now wielded. Gazing down at his paw, he observed the flow of chi within, a tangible reminder of his current existence far removed from his past life's trials. Seeking solace, he stepped out to the pavilion, retrieving the half-empty bottle of sake from his storage ring. "I am just a fluke," he whispered to himself, a sigh escaping his lips as he poured and slowly sipped the sake. Each drop was a bitter reminder of his insecurities, even as he sat waiting for the dawn. As the first light of the sun began to break the horizon, Lauscher wrestled with his thoughts, pondering his journey, the power he had acquired, and the path that lay ahead. As the last drops of sake vanished and the first rays of the sun began to brush the rooftops with gold, Lauscher found himself reminiscing about the day he began teaching Lang. He could still see the boy's bright, eager face and all the events that had unfolded since then. His aim had never been to position himself as the central hero of this new realm, but rather to support and elevate those who had the potential to assume such roles. Lang, Ya, Chao, Tao, and Jiang. I will ensure that each of you achieves greatness, he affirmed silently, bolstering his spirits and dispelling the shadows of self-doubt that lingered within him. This internal declaration seemed to echo the rejuvenating light of the dawn, lifting his spirit as he noticed his disciples, still stifling yawns, making their way across the lower gardens toward the training hall. Inspired by this sight and motivated by his renewed sense of purpose, Lauscher effortlessly leaped from the pavilion. He followed in the footsteps of his disciples, entering the training hall with a clear vision of the future he intended to shape for them. His resolve was as bright as the morning sun, undaunted and full of promise for what the day would bring to their shared journey. As Lauscher stepped into the threshold of the training hall, the early morning sun casting long shadows on the wooden floor, a palpable sense of anticipation hung in the air. The disciples, gathered in the center of the hall and poised to commence their daily regimen, turned almost simultaneously at the sound of his approach. Lang, the first to recognize their master, broke into a wide grin, his earlier fatigue momentarily forgotten. "Master Lauscher," he exclaimed, his voice echoing off the walls, imbued with genuine joy and respect. The others quickly followed suit, their faces lighting up with a mixture of relief and excitement. Ya, ever the stoic, nodded deeply towards Lauscher, his eyes conveying a respect that words could not fully capture. Chao, on the other hand, couldn't contain her enthusiasm. "You're back?" she cheered, stepping forward with a bounce in her step that reflected her evolved physicality and the golden scales that shimmered subtly on her shoulders and ankles. The Rong brothers, Tao and Jiang, exchanged glances before bowing in unison, a silent acknowledgement of their master's return. Their stoicism belied the relief and anticipation stirring within them, their posture straightening as if energized by Lauscher's mere presence. Lauscher, observing the varied reactions of his disciples, felt a warmth spread through his chest, a stark contrast to the chill of the dawn air. "It seems I've arrived just in time," he said, his voice steady but carrying an underlying current of affection and pride. "I trust you've all been diligent in your training." The question was rhetorical, a gentle tease rooted in his confidence in their dedication. He walked further into the hall, observing the slight changes in their stances and auras, subtle indications of their growth during his absence. "Lang, you, proceed with your usual routines," Lauscher instructed, gesturing for them to continue their training as he led Chao, Tao, and Jiang to the opposite side of the building. Once secluded from the others, he turned his attention to Chao. "Here's a technique I've documented during my travels. It's challenging, but given your capabilities, I'm confident you'll master it," he said, handing her a booklet. "Thank you, Master," Chao replied, her deep bow mirroring the gratitude in her voice, a bright smile lighting up her face. "Join the others for now," Lauscher directed her, then shifted his focus to the Rong brothers. "Tell me, what training have you undergone before?" "We've trained in fist fighting, Master," Tao responded. Lauscher nodded thoughtfully. "I have several techniques in mind. Are you inclined to continue with fist fighting, or are you considering exploring other paths?" Tao hesitated, his fingers betraying his nervousness. "I'd like to train with the sword, sir," he finally said. "And you, Jiang?" Lauscher inquired, turning to the younger brother. "I wish to continue with fist techniques," Jiang murmured quietly. "No problem at all. I'll prepare specific instructions for each of you by the day's end. For now, try to keep up with Lang's regimen," Lauscher advised. Tao looked concerned. "Master Lauscher, is their training more suited to our current level? Lang's regimen seems formidable. Do what you're capable of for now. It's clear that such training might be beyond your reach immediately. However, I expect you'll be able to handle it within a month," Lauscher explained, his tone leaving no room for doubt. "A month?" Tao's astonishment was evident, but he quickly composed himself, bowing respectfully before hastily retreating with Jiang, not wishing to further question Lauscher's judgment. Lauscher closely observed the Rong brothers, intrigued by their shared earth spiritual roots, a discovery that pleasantly surprised him. His disciples already presented a remarkable array of elements. Lang with fire, Ye with ice, and Chao, who had acquired a unique wind root during her evolution. The diversity within his sect was both uncommon and welcome, enriching the collective potential of his students. With a wealth of knowledge at his disposal, Lauscher delved into his mental archive of martial arts techniques, selecting those specifically aligned with the Earth's enduring, steadfast nature. The techniques he chose for the brothers were characterized by their deliberate, less graceful movements, yet their potency was undeniable. Importantly, these methods were well suited to the brothers' level of talent, ensuring they could effectively progress with their natural abilities. Lauscher noted that their spiritual cores were exceptionally well developed for their age, likely the result of diligent training, the use of enhancement pills, and guidance from competent instructors. Despite his curiosity about the brothers' backgrounds, Lauscher chose to respect their privacy, opting to wait until they felt comfortable sharing their history on their own terms. By day's end, he fulfilled his promise, meticulously compiling 2 booklets of selected techniques tailored to their unique affinities. However, before distributing these precious compilations, he introduced them to a specialized breathing technique designed to harmonize with their earth spiritual roots. This foundational skill would not only augment their control over earth chi, but also serve as a cornerstone for mastering the techniques he had so carefully chosen for them.